Hi, welcome back to the garden. Today we're going to do the 10, 11, and 12, the last three parts of the Zodiac, the major arcana that relate to that. And 10 actually has some minor arcana cards with it too. But if you reduce them for numerology and all the other things we've been looking at, it would be a 1. So go back to 1 if you want to see that part. The the angel numbers, though, we have angel numbers for everything. I have angels numbers for up to 999. The angel number for 10 is God wants you to hold positive thoughts about the situation as everything is working out for their highest good. Call upon God to help you stay optimistic as your thoughts are influencing factors in the outcome. And since that's the angel number interpretation, I'm going to go right to Tarot and we'll look at the 10th house and the 10th sign after that. 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. You are either riding high or falling off, as you see the poor little dude in the corner falling off. Now, the Wheel of Fortune, what I learned about it a long time ago was that if you sit on the outside of the wheel, you get a wild ride. You up a lot and down a lot. But the closer you get to the center of that wheel, the closer you are to I, or to the beginning, or to the source, or to the place that all energy comes from, right there, the axle. So if you get centered, you don't go on that wild ride. You go around and around on the Wheel of Fortune, but you don't have all the ups and downs that you have otherwise, because the other tarot cards show you the ups and downs. This is a lovely, pleasant card. The 10 of Cups is happiness. Some people call it the card of marriage. In a lot of the decks, there's a happy family sitting there looking up at the rainbow in the sky. 10 Cups, it's extreme contentment. That's being on the high side of the Wheel of Fortune. And even this card reversed doesn't mean that bad. Depending on the cards around it, it could mean dissolution of a marriage, but it's not as difficult as some of the other ones. So 10 is completion, 10 is the end, 10 in the Tarot and the minor arcana. When you're at the 10, you're at the end of the cycle of the meaning of that particular pip. And in this case, as I went over about cups, it's emotional security, it's warmth, it's love, it's that sort of feeling. So that's kind of the high one on that. And in contrast, we have the 10 of Swords. And I used to call this when I was younger the I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas card. But if you looked at yesterday's show, you saw about the 9 of Swords. And the 9 of Swords, all those swords are still coming at you. You know they're coming. You have the anxiety and the pain and everything that goes along with knowing bad news is headed your direction. With this, it's done. And I always tell people, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's over. Let it go. You can't get up out of that snow. You just move on energetically. You just understand what happened in that snow and move on. And it's the end of a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain, a lot of, if the longer you hold on to that image of what happened to you at that point in your life, the more power that image is always going to have over you. So this is a real let it go, release it card. Now, this is the 9 of rods, 10 of rods. And what happens with this guy is he's carried all these rods, he's gathered them together. He's just at a point where he can't pick up another rod. He can't make another move. There's a deck where the 10 of rods is actually Cinderella in the kitchen right before she gets to go to the ball. It's like she's so overloaded and overworked, she can't see any way around it, and yet there is a way out. And then there's a couple decks where this guy's actually just thrown these down to the ground and said, I'm out of here. So this card is a card of being overburdened. And it just depends on how you can figure out to unburden yourself from all this and to realize what of those rods is useless, that you're carrying something you don't need anymore, and how to let it go. And that's the ending of the 10 of rods. That's the end. What started as a wonderful, lovely enterprise, one golden rod, one golden wand, one shining way to move forward, has now become a complete burden. It's time to let it go. And then the final 10 is the 10 of Pentacles. And this is people who are very contented, have all the material wealth they could ever want. Sometimes it can mean people who are detached from their good fortune, but I think more often than not, depending on the cards that are around it, it's a very what happens around it card, how happy or how contented or how well people are getting along with the state in their life. But it's definitely the higher side of the Wheel of Fortune. Just like the 10 of Swords is a low point, the 9 of Wands is I'm a burden, I want out of here. This is you have everything and to feel contented. It's also a generational card, a card of inheritance, a card of firm foundations. So it's a good card. So that's the Tarot under the number 10. Now we're going to get to the 10th house. And the 10th house is, it matches the 10 of Pentacles. It's your outside status in the world. And it is how you've climbed and where you've gotten to in this world. And it's, you can see that there's shining light beyond, that you know there's more to go on, but it's not a bad place to be. It's a card of achievement. It's the card, the sign that's in the 10th house is Capricorn. And Capricorn is energy around you. It's serious, materialistic, hardworking, bestows shrewdness and very good ambitions. It is a very, very, people who are born in Capricorn are really successors. Well, the sign is the goat that hangs on the mountain. The real myth behind it's kind of interesting. It's actually a goat that's half goat and half fish. I don't know how it climbs up mountains doing that, but Capricorns, it's an earth sign. So is Virgo and so is Taurus. And I once heard these three signs connected together. Taurus will make the first version, the I have version of an item. You hand it to a Virgo and they will re-engineer it and make it the most efficient, whatever it was supposed to be. I'm sorry, they just threw mail through my slot. That scared me. It turns it into the most wonderful, new-fangled gadget with all the bells and whistles and improves on what Taurus started. But Capricorn is the sign that will take that widget and they will brand name it. They will make sure it's in all the best stores and in all the best catalogs and is sold for a price that's 100 times what Virgo ever thought it was worth. So that's how those three signs, they're all earth signs. They all make things happen. They all make things happen very differently. Capricorn is where all those planets were a year ago that some people have blamed for a great deal of the change. They didn't cause the change. They signaled the change. We made the change happen. Humans do that. And the planet that is in Capricorn is Saturn. And Saturn is an interesting planet, just like Jupiter, the last one I talked about in Sag, is wonderful and full of hope and expansive. And as some people have described it, it's really a big ball of gas out in the planets. It doesn't even have much of a solid core, if any kind of core at all. It's just a big, giant gas bag, but it shines beautifully and it gives you great hope. Saturn is the part that accepts challenge to gain wisdom. And boy, if that ever summarized the last year of our lives, that ever summarized 2020. We accepted the challenge and we can gain the wisdom. And that's what Saturn is about. So that's really what the 10th house is about. It's about challenges. It's about succeeding. It's about changing. It's about making things better. Then we go to the 11th house. Okay. And we don't have any more minor arcana cards because they stop at 10, but the major arcana is justice. And just like the other house, this one is reflective of what Aquarius is about. And we are now have a lot of planets. Like today we have 6 planets in Aquarius, something like that, or 5 or 6. When the moon goes through, it makes the 6th one. Anyway, justice is in this a very balanced lady. I have another picture of justice on my wall. It's Ruth Bader Ginsburg in this pose as justice in the tarot. And justice pretty much in the tarot means what justice means. It means you're put in judgment. Legal things are going to happen around you. What you do is going to be weighed and scaled and decided upon. And the age of Aquarius is an age of justice and humanitarianism. as you'll find out when we get into these cards. The 11th house is where the cosmos grants us friends, luck, and generosity. And Aquarius is that. Aquarius is also electronic communications, communication of all sorts, a lot of quick thinking, a lot of strong interconnection. Even though we're separated, a lot of people sometimes are closer to people and they've been in a long time. So we are now have Jupiter and Saturn just met in Aquarius, which Aquarius is an air sign. Air sign is not something that's in this earth. It comes from this earth. Luck, friends, and social occasions. And that's what's going to be going on. That's the main keywords for, some of the main keywords for Aquarius. Aquarius itself, the energy of being freedom-loving, rebellious, idealistic, and technological. And that's the new era we're going into. That time where all those things are going to become extremely important. And they have the humanitarian twist on them. They're not cold and detached like they were when some of these energies were in Capricorn. These are things that actually touch your lives and make a difference to you. And that's the 11th house, and that's where we are. If you know Aquarians, you know they're really bright, they're ambitious, but they are rebellious. They absolutely go their own way. That's what they do. And the ruling planet of Saturn and the 11th house is your potential is Uranus, potential for sudden change. And Uranus right now is in Taurus, and it's causing, and it will, by the time it finishes and gets out of Taurus, which is what we have universally, how our money's spent, how we deal with things will be completely changed. And if you haven't noticed, I haven't had any real paper folding money in 7 months, I don't think. I use a debit card. If I need anything, it goes on the debit card. I actually had a bunch of change just stuck in my purse that I was never going to use because it was too small. And I gave it to a friend of mine who owned a store who still has to make change because there are still people running around carrying cash. Anyway, that's Uranian, how we deal with that money, how we handle all that. And it's enlightenment and awakening, but with a sudden change. So Aquarius is, the 11th house is very, very exciting in the Zodiac. And so now we're moving on, change gears. We're going to the 12th house, which is the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is a period of your time when you get through the Tarot. By the time you get to the Hanged Man, you've gone through all these changes and stuff, and you kind of have to hang out and absorb it before you know how to move on. Or it's a culmination of the awakening of a new sense of self. The actual myth behind the Hanged Man in the Tarot is Thor or Odin. He got hung up in a tree, and a raven came and plucked his eye out, which seems like a relatively miserable thing to happen. But after his eye was plucked out and after he went through that suffering, he understood what he was supposed to do. He was able to assume his own power. That's part of the Nordic legends. And that's what this Hanged Man is about. It's learning our lessons, sometimes not the hard way. I also have a deck where the Hanged Man is a giraffe with its head turned upside down. And it says, seeing the world from a new perspective. I like that one better than dealing with ravens. No offense, ravens. The 12th house, the area of your life that is overwhelming. You can yield greater cause or power. What's it say? You yield to a greater cause or power. This is the awakening of the sense of the inner self. That's what happens in the 12th house. Like you had an awakening in social events and with people and more freedom in Aquarius, this is finding the freedom within your own self, within your own soul. And the sign is Pisces. And if any of you know Pisces, you know they're the fish, and they're either swimming up or they're swimming down. Their energy is wistful, endlessly loving, compassionate, and forgiving. It confuses and softens resolve. It's a dreamy. in many ways. I have 2 Pisces suns, and I didn't read the books on astrology really closely before I had them, because but all the books I read say it's a really hard sign to be a male and be in Pisces, because it's forgiving and understanding. And in the paradigm we've been living under of the masculine changes that happened when we created the nation states, it makes it difficult. Now, they're both doing really, really well, but they are loving, compassionate creatures. And I would hope other people would learn to be the same. It's just a spot in your life that you go through, and you learn how to resolve yourself to having those characteristics and how to best use them. Now, the planet that's in charge in that, or that's its native home, is Neptune. That's fantasies, yearning, longing, potential for illusions. And it's the dreamer card. And where Neptune is, it's changing, almost changing your subconscious. And if you get your natal chart from done and you see where your Neptune is, that sets up a pattern. Then you see where Neptune continues to roll around the signs and see what problems problems or things it causes or creates, or new awakenings it brings to us. So if you look at that particular sign, it's dreamy illusions. It's someone who can learn and is flexible and can have resolve, and very psychic people. I've also read quite a bit. If you're a Piscean, this is not your first rodeo in the human world. And they give way to illusions and create new wonderful things. And it's the next step before we go into, once again, we roll in the Zodiac, we roll around to Aries, which is 1, and we start this whole process again. So I realized that was like the world's fastest trip. Oh, the other thing about Pisces, if you take the 1 and the 2 and add them together, it's 3, and that takes you back to the triad, which is the foundational number 3. So that takes care of that. And that's sort of our trip through the numerology, the astrology, the tarot, and the basic numbers. Oh, I didn't give you your angel number, your angel readings. For 11, the angel reading this is when you're in Aquarius. Stay positive. Your thoughts are materializing rapidly, so you want to ensure positive outcomes by only focusing on the good within yourself, others, or any situation. And I think sometimes when we're in the spiritual world, we try to always think good about the next person and try to visually in good situations. But one of the things that I find when I talk to a lot of people is it's their own self-thoughts. I mean, we'll beat ourselves up in our brain. We'll say things to ourselves in our quiet time down about, why'd you do that? And being critical of ourselves in ways we would never be critical to another person. So stay positive means stay positive on yourself as well. We're not going to do everything perfect every time. Sometimes we have to do things wrong so we can learn how to do things right. So think about that when you're looking at what you're up to. And 12, Pisces. Keep your thoughts positive about the future, as what you are thinking influences your future. Just what I was talking about. This message is to keep your faith, hope strong, because these are strong determining factors right now. So it's saying when the hope and the aspirations you feel you're moving towards, keep those in good, strong, positive light. Don't think, oh, it's never going to happen to me, or good stuff happens to everybody else, but here's all poor me. The more you sit there and do that, that's exactly what you're going to draw into your life. So we want you to go around the Zodiac and end up on a positive note. And the positive note is be positive to yourself, be positive to others, and understand that nothing is forever. Whether, like the Wheel of Fortune, you go up, you go down, but there are ways, if we stay centered, that those ups and those downs are less difficult for ourselves. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing my box behind me that people keep asking me. We keep seeing this box with crystals hanging on the wall. I will explain what's in that box and how I got it put together, and how I put it together when I was first working with stones, and what all is in it. It's lots of fun. There's a chakra run there. You can see behind me. It also has 3 dragonflies. Dragonfly is the spirit animal of my crystal directions. When I was picking one thing to think about, I ran across a quote about a dragonfly that was absolutely wonderful. Talked about how they move, how they see. They're born of the water, which is emotion. They live in the air, which is thought. They can hover, they can move. There's some myths that they were created like sort of like little helicopters, so angels could ride on them and didn't have to worry about the direction. They could just ride around on the dragonfly. I used to go to summer camp where we had great dragonflies in the lake, big, big ones. And I just love dragonflies. And I think the iridescence of their wings looks like many crystals. I think they are born of many powers, and they have eyes that have incredible vision. They can see all around themselves. So that's what I would hope people could do when they deal with crystals, is feel all the energy that's around them. And so I'll go into that tomorrow. And other than that, I think I've wrapped up numbers. If you have any questions, I realize sometimes I dash so fast, I realize I sort of skip things. And I don't mean to do that, but I do. And oh, by the way, if you're a 10, your 10 reduces to 1, so the stone in, we're looking at the 10th house would be Garnet. If you're um, if you're interested in the 11th house, it's a 2, and the life path on a 2 is a Howlite. And for the 12th house, it's a 3, and the Amazonite would be ruling that house, the way I was looking at the numbers just now. That's it. Look forward to seeing you a little bit later. Take care. Bye.